Okay, I am making some more videos about buying mill surplus stuff. As a lot of my subscribers have known, I kind of backed off from it because um, you got to pay attention to what you're doing, and the prices on some things are just ridiculous. Okay, so I have another auction win, a ruby style pistol, okay, which as you see has been chrome plated. This was probably done in the 50s, okay, because I've seen a lot of Lugers, P38s, and that was a popular thing a lot of the vets would do with their stuff in the late 40s, 50s, is have them chrome plated, especially if the finish, probably the finish was worn on this gun. There are no import marks on this, so this thing must have came in years ago with a vet, and this was done. Now, I did not intend to buy this pistol at the auction, okay? And I'm going to go over how I ended up with it, what I paid for it, I'm talking code because of YouTube, and whether I made out or not, okay? So what happens is, and this wasn't like a gun broker auction, this was Craft Auction House, and they are in Indiana. And the weird thing is, I think I bought something from them years ago because when I had to go do the paperwork and stuff, I already had an account there. So that must have been 10 years ago or something. I bought a gun from them. Okay. So what I do when I get bored is I go to these auctions, and I was just looking. I was going to make a video about the auction, but it took forever. I mean, just dragging on and all kinds of stuff. And there were all kinds of, there were military vehicles, there were class 3 weapons, machine guns and that. There were modern guns, there were accessories, there was a whole 9 yards of stuff in this auction. And there were a lot of pretty neat mill surplus guns. Every KAR 98 in there went for well over $1,000, except one that was really beat up. Okay, so I'm going to go focus on the pistol so you guys can look at it, and I'll tell you what I do. It's a bad habit that I have. Okay, so how auctions work. I was live and online waiting to look at some things on the auction. There were one or two things I was interested in, but got a little bit more than what I wanted to pay. So what I do while I'm bored waiting is they go through 500 lots, which takes, it's all day. You can, through proxy bidding that, put like a pre-bid before the auction. So if you don't want to sit around for the auction or whatever, you see something like this you like, you can place the highest amount you want to pay and just leave it in there, a pre-bid. And actually the pre-bids don't get too crazy. So what happens is when the lot comes up for a second, the bid price will be the pre-bid, which is usually fairly low. And what I'll do is I'll hit that real quick, kind of like bottom feeding, trying to see if, it'll take my bid, but a lot of times like an Enfield rifle would be $240, I bid $250. And then all of a sudden it resets and they get all the other different places in and people on the floor, and it goes from that 250 to 600, in one jump. So that's what I do to amuse myself and kill the boredom. So I'm sitting there. I really don't know much about these Spanish pistols. I like Stars and Astras. These are kind of a generic thing that during the war, Spain and all the workshops in Spain made these pistols, okay? And what it is, it's a copy of a Colt 1903 automatic, okay? And those things, even in crappy shape, go for $600, $700, But I've seen these, and the average prices are 3 to 4, in that area. That's what you see them go for. And you got to be careful because there are some that were made pre-war, out of Spain that just don't have a military collector's value, and there were some made post-war. Okay, so you have to educate yourself. But anyway, I guess they became popular with World War I, anniversary of World War I, and all the military guns all went up in value because a lot of people learned about them and wanted to buy them. So I was never interested in one. I knew about them, and flinging out 3 or 4 for something like this never really appealed to me. And actually, there was one lot before this that thing went for about 4. Now you have to realize, whatever your bid is, okay, you got 20% getting tacked on. So the good pistol went, and then this one popped up, and it's down there. I guess it was 160 or something, and I just hit the button and figured it would shoot up, and then all of a sudden my screen is flashing, you won. So it was 180 is what my bid was, okay? Now, if I went to a gun show and handed somebody that in greenbacks, that would have been a good deal. But what happens is the premium was $36, the sales tax was $15.12. So the total came to let's round it off, 231. Okay? So they were pretty adamant, and you have your card online, and they just kind of like the next day trying to send me an emails, more or less automatically charged me for it, so I could secure it, because if I didn't do it in 24 hours I would forfeit it and have to pay a restocking fee or something. I don't know, it was weird, but no harm done. So now they ask me, after the lot's paid for and the 231 is given to them, are you going to come down and pick this up, or do you want it shipped? So I had to answer that. So shipping was $40, and then I had to pay $25 to get the transfer, because this needs an FFL transfer. So it all come out to about $296. All right. Now, as a collector, and a guy told me this years ago, okay, when you look at something like this, okay, and we'll get this out a little. This is an unusual gun. This one was made by Victor Bernardo Abar or whatever, and it has an extended barrel, okay, which is kind of unusual. And it does, and we'll make a video, I'll make a video about this, it does have all the markings that you can still barely see them, even though they wire brushed the chrome on this thing. And the grips aren't right either, they're just replacement grips. So obviously the original pistol was probably not in good condition, and somebody went and chromed it just to make it look nice. But there's a lot of features there. These are a fairly common gun. They are made in very large quantities. And the value of this, like I said, is 3 to 4. But because of the extended barrel, I've seen them go a little over 4. Okay, and somebody does have one currently on the gun broker, in much nicer shape, cleaner, with sharp markings, asking $750. Okay, but let's go with the value. Okay, say you find something like this. This is an interesting piece. It is a military piece, but somebody screwed with it, and they say it ruins the collector value. Okay, which in a way is true. But how do you value this? So a guy told me once, you take the value of the gun in original condition, which we say is 40. Okay, and he goes, if it's been refinished, screwed with, not sporterized, that's a different story. If it's been reblued or refinished and is complete and in the original military condition, you deduct 50%. as the true value. So, if it's 4.0, this gun is worth, in reality, about 2.0. Okay? And I paid 1.80. So, in a way, I really gave what its true value was, actually 2.0 less. Okay? So that's not bad, but the only thing is with the auction, the tax, the shipping, the transfer, I've kind of pushed it up in the middle, but I can't say, I can't say I've been screwed, or I'm not upset about buying it. Actually, it was pretty neat. I can make a video discussing auctions and the downfalls of them. And whenever you're looking at any piece, be it this or something even nicer, some of the auction houses do not tell you bore condition. This place did kind of tell you the bore condition. Okay? They kind of had, some of them will only have 1 or 2 photographs. This place did have like 3 or 4, so you can get a halfway decent idea of what the gun is. And also, some places will charge you, because if you're using a credit card, at 20% will go up to 24%. There was another auction house that I was looking at something. They'll charge you 24% using a credit card unless you send them cash. And it was 22, 24, and then you get it down to 20 if you send them a check or a bank transfer, buying online. Because they go from 17.5. If you submitted a bid to the company without being in a live auction or going through Proxy Bid or any of the other online sites that allow you to live bid, you can reduce that to 17%. So if I went on their website and just the auction company's website, not Proxy Bid, if I went to them, placed a bid, and I won it, a sealed bid. In other words, I just say, okay, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars. And if my bid held, then if I paid them, it's like 17 or 18% if I pay them supposedly in cash. You want to charge on the card, and it goes up 20. So you got to watch and be aware of the fees and that. And it can get, 20%. When you're up into the thousands or something, that's an awful lot of money tacked on to the price. And that's something, excuse me, you have to realize. Now, if I went to a gun show and handed somebody, 1.80 in cash, that would just be perfect, okay? But, I had to tack on another C note to get it to me, more or less, a little more, and that's just the long and short of it. But it was an interesting thing. I thought you guys would be interested. The other gun I got from the gun broker, and I made a video on that. But I'm going to go and talk about these pistols, these Ruby pistols, because they're kind of interesting. I never did have an interest in them. But now that I got one and I can look at it and talk about how they're marked, how they came about, I found out more about the history. We'll look at this gun a lot closer, and I'll explain to you what I've learned recently about these guns. And we can go out and shoot this one. Actually, the bore on this is pretty good. Alright guys, so that's another collector's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. You got to keep sharp, you got to educate yourself, and don't get caught up in the moment, like I was doing. I was just fooling around and I won this, okay? But it worked out okay. It wasn't really bad. I didn't bid on something for like $2.5K or something like that. But, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll have more about neat guns like this, collecting, and how to navigate the hobby, outside of just buying from a place that lists them. You can collect and you can make out, but you have to work at it, and you have to have some self-discipline, and you have to learn the ins and outs of this hobby, okay? All right, guys, thanks.